MMA Impact TV, here today to talk about UFC 118 fight between Randy the Natural Couture and James Lights Out Toney. Alright, this is obviously a really anticipated bout, largely due to the fact that it's the first time that a really high caliber world class boxer has made a conversion from MMA to boxing. And a lot of MMA fans are really intrigued to see how he's actually going to fare. James Toney, leading up to that, really has disrespected a lot of MMA fighters, saying how he's going to knock out Brock Lesnar, disrespecting Couture, calling someone like Fedor Emelianenko one-dimensional. So obviously he's done well to hype up his MMA debut, and there's going to be a lot of interest. Randy Couture, on the other hand, has taken a slightly different approach. He's kind of been quite humble about this. He's obviously expressed that he's unhappy about what James Toney has said, but he's been quite humble about it. I think he's hyping it. He's actually done very well at hyping it as well, because he's done it in a kind of, it really looks like there's a bad guy, good guy kind of thing, which I think all MMA fans love. Alright, let's talk about James Toney for a bit, just slightly as a boxer. James Toney really has a great record as a boxer, something like 75 wins. Both in his amateur and professional career, he's never been knocked out, and he's won titles from middleweight all the way up to heavyweight. At one stage even he was ranked as the top pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. However, that's boxing, and being a great boxer is one thing, but he does well. He's a boxer purely. He's been boxing professionally for 22 years. He's not an MMA fighter. So against someone like Couture, Couture's a really well-rounded fighter. He's obviously a UFC Hall of Famer and an MMA legend. Couture going to this bout, everyone's going to acknowledge Couture's beaten some really great strikers in the past. He's beaten Vitor Belfort, he's beaten Chuck Liddell, he's beaten Tim Sylvia. So, and he knocked out Vitor Belfort twice, or technically TKO. So Couture isn't a bad striker. His boxing now is probably better than it has been in the past as well. However, these are really top-class MMA strikers, but they're not to the same caliber as someone like James Toney is. So I personally think going to this bout, Couture is going to be, he's such a cerebral, smart fighter. I think Couture is going to approach this bout very simply that at the start he's obviously going to test the water, I'd say, a little bit due to striking. He's going to see how that goes. I don't think Couture is really going to go. He's not going to go try to bang at James Toney. He's probably going to stay on the outside, just throw a quick jab or something, try to use his head movement, try to avoid shots. And then of course I think Couture is most likely going to shoot for a double leg, or going to shoot and try to push James Toney up against the fence. I think if Couture does get a double leg and does take him down, I think that's the end for James Toney. I think Couture is just going to ground and pound him, and eventually either get a TKO or a submission, most likely a choke. I think that if he goes for pushing up against the fence, I think that's also going to be nearly as devastating. I think he's going to do a bit of dirty boxing, mix with some elbows, and then some knees, of course, to the legs. So he's going to completely take out Toney's legs, and without his legs, he's not going to have any footwork, and that's going to really weaken Toney's boxing. I think that if he does take him to the ground, he's going to get him. He's going to beat him in the first round. But I think if he takes him to the fence, it might last to the second round. But then I think it's going to be just easy pickings for Couture, and I think it's really just going to be very easy for Couture if he gets him in those positions. I think those are the two most likely outcomes. However, what could happen, like Couture has been knocked out a few times in his career. So Couture's chin, I'm not saying his chin is really suspect, but he's been knocked out before. Most fighters throughout their career have been knocked out at one stage. So if he's been knocked out by Josh Barnett and Kevin Randleman, who aren't particularly high-level strikers, if he does get clipped by someone like Toney, who in boxing when they wear 16-ounce gloves, he's really fast in boxing. He's wearing 16-ounce gloves. Can you just imagine him with 4-ounce gloves? He's going to be way more powerful and way more faster. So Couture I don't think Couture is going to want to risk being clipped in the chin by James Toney. So I think when he shoots the takedown, Toney's biggest chance to win this now is when Couture shoots for a takedown, which I think he will inevitably do, or of course shoots to put him against the fence. Tony's going to time his punch very well and try to clip him straight in the chin. If he gets him, someone like Toney's high-level boxing, there's a there's a likelihood if he does clip him that he will knock him out, and that of course will be a bit of a shock to most MMA fans. I don't think many people are rooting for that, but that's one possibility. However, I do think that's kind of unlikely, you know. Another thing I just mentioned before about the bout is the condition of both fighters. James Toney doesn't look like he'd be in great condition. He looks kind of overweight. While Randy Couture is a 47-year-old man, but he's in great condition. He's been ripped all his life, just perfect condition. However, James Toney, in his last bout, he did get his technical knockout as a boxer, but before that he did go 12 rounds. So maybe even with a bit of like someone like, if you look at somebody like Roy Nelson, he's got good cardio, even though he is overweight. So you never know. I don't think his cardio is actually going to be too appalling, which a lot of people in the internet seem to rave about. Um, However, in this bout, I do see, regardless of good cardio, I think he's going to have, I do see Couture getting him down, getting against the fence, and just picking him apart from there. And with the only other likely outcome being that Toney clips him sometime early in the first round. If he doesn't get him in the first round, I don't think it's going to happen. Alright, that's my review for this fight and my prediction. Just see if you like it, and rate, subscribe, and of course post your own comments.